Welcome back, book lovers. Another week, another book. Let's hear it for this week's book.
Hello, book lovers, and welcome to the podcast of Book Binger by Shelby. You probably don't recognize my voice. My name is Noelle. I'm going to be a guest today talking with Shelby. We're going to talk about the book Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. And I'm going to start by reading the small intro to the book. For years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kai Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. If you haven't heard, there's a movie coming up with this book, and we're super excited to talk about the book and a little bit about the movie today. The author, Delia Owens, has actually been a zoologist. She loves nature, so you can see a lot of that coming out in her book, and she worked on the book for 10 years before it got published. So this will be a really fun book to talk about today, and we're excited for you guys to join us. And if you want, add your messages, your comments about what you think about the book.
If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, guys. So I'm really excited to be talking about one of my favorite books with her. And as she mentioned, it's also going to be a movie this year. So we'll be talking about the book, the movie, all the wonderful things about Where the Crawdads Sing. Well, Noelle, how did you come upon this book? Did I recommend this book to you? I can't remember.
You were one of many people to recommend this book to me. I think my mom first recommended it a couple of years ago, and then you recommended it. My sister-in-law recommended it. So many people, and I ignored them for a while, and then finally read it. So I'm glad I did.
Yeah, just so many more people are reading it, or so many more people are also just aware of it too.
Yeah, I think the movie trailer coming out helped with that.
Yeah, for sure. And I had no idea they were going to make it into a movie. Like, you were the first one to tell me that it was becoming a movie. And honestly, my first reaction to that was I was really nervous. There's just too much in this book that, I mean, and we all know movie adaptations, they're not the same.
So true.
It's so hard. But I did finally watch the trailer. I've been putting it off for a while.
Oh, yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm still scared because there's so much in this book.
Yep. No, it's so true. And I don't know if you wanted to talk about that first. We can talk about the book first. But
yeah, I'm jumping ahead. Let's talk about the book first.
You're good.
So what was your just first impression reading the book?
Going into it, I wasn't total. I knew it was kind of a murder mystery, and I was a little hesitant because I don't like murder. Who likes murder? Murder is creepy. But I feel like this book and this story takes a different, like, the whole experience of it is not just focused on the murder, if that makes sense. It's focused on this main character, Kaya, and kind of what she goes through as a child and growing into an adult, and just like her relationships and her love for nature. I think that's also what's really strong, and kind of what you were talking about what they might miss with the movie. And so I think, I was worried about it being a murder, but the story itself and the writing is so beautiful. So
it is. And initially the murder mystery went over my head when I first read this book. I didn't feel like it was in that category.
Yeah, I can see how you would feel that way. I feel that too.
Yeah. And I love exactly what you said. It's just, the writing is so beautiful. She did such an amazing job. And I think a lot of authors that kind of gets pushed over any kind of review is they don't focus on their writing style enough.
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
least
and
that's my opinion. I feel like there needs to be a lot more appreciation for that because they work hard on that. It's not just putting out some words, making a story good, but it's the
yeah.
way that she's put these sentences together and her vocabulary. It's amazing.
Yes, and like I looked into her a little bit, the author. I don't know how to say her name, like Delia or something.
I think it's
Owens?
Delia.
Delia. Okay. Delia
I'm not
Owens.
sure either, though. We could be saying it totally wrong.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I apparently this is her first novel, but she spent 10 years on this, and it wasn't like all of her time was spent writing this. It was just when she wanted to. This was something that she could work on that she enjoyed. And I love how she is like a zoologist and she loves nature. So I feel like that helped her be able to write it in such a way that, yeah, it's the whole thing is poetic and you can tell that you kind of are like, she knows what she's saying. And now I think the marsh is beautiful. I never thought the marsh was beautiful until reading this and her words about it. So
Yeah, 100%. Well, and so it's very interesting. So for me, reading it the second time around, so I read the book, like I said, about 2.5 years ago, and I was living in Utah. But the coast that she talks about is based off of the Outer Banks. And that's
oh,
a northern coast on the North Carolina coast.
oh my
So
goodness.
the marsh is a real place. She's basing it off of a real, place in North Carolina.
Yeah.
All of the animals she talks about, the insects, the way that the rivers come together, all of that is real.
Oh,
It might
that's
not
amazing.
be exactly, how she says in the book,
Right, right. Yeah.
geographical, but so that is real. And then she talks about a place called Chapel Hill, where one of the
Mhm.
characters goes to university at. And I
Right.
actually live about 20 minutes away from Chapel Hill.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I was like, as I was reading this, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. How did I not put
Yeah.
this together?
No,
And
that's
then
so cool.
she also talks about another place called Asheville. And Asheville is where Kaya's mom and dad met, and it's in the mountains,
Right.
and that's a real place as well. It's on the western side of North Carolina, and they call them mountains, but from a
Mhm.
Utah, standpoint, they're hills.
Still pretty and
Oh, absolutely, yes. Still
oh,
gorgeous,
that's awesome.
but my husband swears that they're not mountains.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So
Yeah.
Shelby, have you gone to some of those places then? Like the mountains, quote
Yeah.
unquote?
We were passing through it, and then the Chapel Hill, there's UNC right there. And then we've been to the Outer Banks. Reading it the second time around was just a really cool connection for me. Understanding like the marsh area. Um, I don't think that's one of the parts that I'm nervous about them recreating that in the movie. I just don't feel like they're going to be able to concentrate that very well.
Yes, no, I hear you because there's so many parts, even like the poetry that she writes and just the way that
Yeah.
she sees the marsh, like
Yeah.
it will be hard to show. Like I'm excited to see it visually like on screen. I think that's cool. That's a new way of art that I think will be cool, but I do think that some of the way the words are written just it's something special. So you have to read the book to understand that.
That's true. I agree. It's just too good. And especially I think everyone needs to read the book because she spent so much time on it.
Yeah.
So much time. The first time around, I read it so quickly. And this time I really I know it sounds so weird. I was like, oh, there's poetry in there. But the second time reading it, it was really beautiful.
Yep, and it tells you a lot if you pay attention to it too. it's
Right?
it's
Oh my
it's not
gosh.
just there as pretty words, but it's
It's a
it's
part of
part
the
of the story,
story.
you know. It's important.
Jinx.
Love that.
Yeah, I agree. There's just, and Noelle and I, we didn't want to do a lot of spoilers because we really want you guys to read this book. So it goes back in time, and starts with Kaya, but then it comes to the present of the murder.
Yeah, I like that, like, kind of the two timelines next to each other, because then, so the one timeline that Shelby mentioned where you're kind of learning about the murder and slowly you see pieces coming together, but you're also like, okay, but what is this, like, how does all this story lead to this murder, or what's going on? And you see those two timelines next to each other, and the way they intertwine is, yeah, it's so well done, and it just keeps you wanting to read and figure out what's going on.
Seriously. And I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person that, like, when I reach a certain point in the story, I start to read like a madman. I just, like, I shut the world out. My husband knows not to talk to me. I sit in my
Yeah.
room and just read until the end.
Yes. Yes, and
Oh,
it's, yeah, it's one of those books where you want to just devote your time to it. You almost forget to eat and do other things, but then you also have a job,
yes.
so
I know. It's so bad. So with a lot of those books, I love to start it on the weekend, so I know that I'll have time and I know I'll be able to finish it. But
yeah,
I'm also like a really, really fast reader. I don't skip words and I don't skip pages, but I
right,
read super quickly because I get so into it.
yeah.
And I feel like that's a problem because then I'll just sit here for a couple hours straight and read an entire book in one sitting.
Hey, it's not a problem. I think like you said, if you read books twice, then the first time you can just understand the story, and then the second time you can appreciate it a little more. So,
That's
it's all
true.
good. It's all
Well,
good.
good. I'll take that then because sometimes I feel like I'm a maniac and I read too much too quickly.
No, no, that's how my husband is too. When he does read it, he's so fast. So there are those
Well,
types.
good. Good. I'm not the only one.
I'm sure you have some listeners who are also like that, so they relate.
Oh, I hope so. You guys, if you're that way, please let me know because I need that backup. So we talked about the book. So one thing I did want to mention with the movie is I thought they did a really great job with the character they picked for Kaya. I was scared, obviously, on their character choices because that makes a huge difference
Yeah.
between movie and book. Um, the other characters, I am kind of disappointed in.
Really?
I am, but I guess they consult with the author. So if she's fine with it, I'll be
Oh.
okay with it.
Do they really consult with the author? I actually didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure they do on a lot of the book to movie adaptations, especially if the author, because she has to sign her agreement form for it, and they'll tell her like, okay, how much do you want to be a part of it?
Right.
If there's any changes, you'll be able to sign off on them, things like that.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I It's funny that you say you like the actress who's playing Kaya. I was the opposite. I was like, what,
really,
Kaya? Well, I just felt like she wasn't, like, in the book they describe Kaya as very, like, kind of striking and unusual, not unusual, but like a striking beauty and kind of wild. And I just feel like this. I think, oh, what's her name? Daisy Edgar Jones. Is that her name? The actor.
I have no
Anyway,
idea.
I just feel like she's not quite that look, but I still think she'll do a great job. Usually once they get acting and I see them in the role, then I think it's convincing.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'm still nervous. I think the hardest part sometimes in movies is portraying those relationships too.
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm really nervous at that part because there's so much emotion in this book. That's going to be the hardest part is to show the different relationships between her family members and the people that she interacts. like the entirety of the book is her emotions towards these people.
Yeah. And little moments, like not always big scenes, but just little moments, passing moments and interactions too. So
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think, what is it? It comes out end of July.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I will definitely be there the first week it opens, and I pray it is good.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say there is some like I would say mature content in the book. Like
Oh,
I
yes.
wouldn't read it if I was, I don't know what age, but young. Like I feel like it's definitely an adult book. There's some parts, it's not like extremely explicit, but it's definitely, I mean, sexual relationships that are
For
talked
sure.
about. And I am worried about that with the movie too, because there,
Yeah.
some parts where I'm like, I don't want to see that. I think
Right.
storytelling, you can still show the impact that those things have without being too explicit, and you can still
Mm-hmm.
maintain a really great story and show the effects of those type of things. So I will be
True.
curious, Shelby, if you go see it opening weekend, you're gonna have to let me know how that goes.
I will, for sure. And that's a really great point that I did forget to bring up is, and I was talking to my mom about this because I have a teenage sister,
Oh,
and
yep.
usually we all, and she's, it's my turn, and
Uh-huh.
pass her, and we're like, hey, no, you
Yeah.
should not read this book. So yeah, for those who, I would say probably honestly under the age of 16, like it's
Yeah.
really, it's traumatic, and
Yeah.
those certain situations, they're just hard, you know?
Yeah.
Any kind of hard sexual interaction, it's just difficult. So you
Yeah.
bring up a really good point. There is that adult content in there, but again, it's not super explicit. Like there are other books that just go into way too much detail.
Yeah.
This one, she did a great job. She still painted that story, but she didn't go word for word in,
Yeah.
which I appreciated for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
But
And
Hollywood, yeah.
yeah, you never know what they're gonna do. And I mean, even as adults, you kind of have to decide like what you're okay with reading and what makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's okay too. So
Absolutely. I 100% agree on that. 100%.
yeah, but like you said, Shelby, I think the way she writes it is like it's, again, it's part of the story. It's not unnecessary sexual
Hmm.
scenes of like, oh, you're
Right.
just writing this to make people uncomfortable. It's like part of Kaya's story. And again, we don't want
Yes.
to give spoilers, so you have to read it to understand. But decide for yourself, like we
Yes.
said.
True. Yes. And if you want more detail on it, you can reach out to me and I can tell you a little bit more about it if you're hesitant to read the book. Honestly, like I get uncomfortable when there is too much sex content in it and it is in depth. This is not that kind of book, but
Yeah.
there is
I'm
that
with you.
aspect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. That is pretty much all I mean, there's so much more I could say, but um, yeah. What about you, Noelle? Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I think it's a great book. It had me from the beginning, and like we both talked about, it's, yes, it does, like it says, it's a murder story, but it's also like so much more. And
So
I love
much.
that aspect. And I would love to hear what other people have to say about it. So I hope people share with you, Shelby, and then you're going to have to tell me what they say.
Yes, for sure. Everybody, please, please, please either go out and read the book or contact me and see if you want to read the book and we can talk about it a little more. I love talking to each and every one of you. And so I love when you guys send me things. Please send me more. I don't get very many, so I'd love it. Like Noelle mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you can send me either like DMs or even send me voice recordings if you're on Anchor or have the Anchor app, you can send me a voice recording of what you thought, and I can add it to a podcast. And I'd love to do that with you guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Noelle, for coming on with me. It was such a treat. I have been wanting to do it with you for so long.
Oh, I know. Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. It was fun to think about the book again and get excited about the movie too.
Another huge thank you to Noelle for coming on my podcast and talking about the book Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I am a huge fan, as you've heard, and so is Noelle. We highly recommend you guys go out to get the book, read it before the movie comes out to see what your opinions will be. Once you see a movie and then read the book, it's kind of hard to appreciate the book. So I recommend doing that first. Again, please listen to A Book Binger. We're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and I am also on Instagram and have a website. Please show me some love. Send me some videos of your guys' thoughts. Also send me DMs. I love to hear from you guys. And I'm looking for somebody else to come on my next podcast. So please let me know if you are that person. Again, thank you so much for listening. And I will see you guys next time.